Have you ever wondered why some people who aren't necessarily the smartest get incredibly wealthy, while some certified geniuses struggle with money their whole lives? It's a puzzle, right? Well, today we're diving deep into a book that completely changed how I see money, wealth, and happiness. The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And trust me, it's not your typical finance book filled with charts and jargon. It's about behavior. It's about us. Housel kicks things off with a powerful idea. Doing well with money has less to do with how smart you are and more to do with how you behave. Think about that. You could be a financial wizard, but if you panic sell every time the market dips, you're likely going to lose. On the other hand, someone with average knowledge who just consistently saves and invests, staying calm through the ups and downs, can build incredible wealth over time. One of my favorite stories from the book is about a janitor named Ronald Reed. This guy lived a simple, frugal life. Nobody knew he had any money. When he passed away, he left an $8 million fortune to a local library and hospital. How? He just bought and held blue-chip stocks for decades and let compounding do its magic. At the same time, the book talks about a highly educated Merrill Lynch executive who went bankrupt from taking on too much debt. One was a janitor, the other a finance professional. Their outcomes were wildly different, not because of intelligence, but because of their behavior and relationship with risk. This brings us to a core concept: the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich is about your current income. You see it, a fancy car, a huge house, it's loud. But wealth is hidden. It's the money you haven't spent. It's the financial assets that are quietly growing, giving you options, freedom, and control over your time. Housel says wealth is the nice car not purchased, the diamond not bought. It's the freedom to wake up and say, I can do whatever I want today. That to me is the ultimate goal, not just having a high salary, but building true silent wealth that gives you freedom. Let's talk about luck and risk. We love to attribute success to skill and failure to bad luck, but Housel argues that luck and risk are two sides of the same coin. They both play a massive role in our financial outcomes. Think about Bill Gates. He was brilliant, no doubt, but he also happened to go to one of the only high schools in the world at that time that had a computer. That was a stroke of incredible luck. Does that diminish his success? No. It just means we need to be humble. When we succeed, we should acknowledge the role luck played, and when we see others fail, we should have compassion, because risk might have just caught up with them. This mindset helps us make better decisions, focusing on what we can control and preparing for what we can't. So, how do we apply this? Housel introduces the idea of being reasonable instead of coldly rational. On paper, the most rational thing to do might be to invest 100% of your money in the highest returning assets. But is that reasonable for you? Can you sleep at night with that level of volatility? Maybe a slightly less optimal but more comfortable strategy is better, because it's one you can actually stick with long term. Consistency is the key. I used to chase the perfect investment strategy. After reading this, I simplified everything. I chose a strategy that felt good to me, one I knew I wouldn't abandon when things got scary. And that has made all the difference. Another huge takeaway for me was the concept of enough. In a world where we're constantly seeing other people's highlight reels on social media, the goalpost for success keeps moving. You get a raise, you want a bigger one. You buy a nice house, you see a nicer one. This is what Housel calls the man in the car paradox. When you see someone driving a Ferrari, you don't think, wow, that driver is cool. You think, wow, if I had that car, people would think I'm cool. We use wealth to signal to others that we should be liked and admired, but it rarely works. The best way to keep your financial life from spiraling out of control is to define what enough means for you. Enough savings, enough income, enough stuff. Getting off that hamster wheel of more is a superpower. And this leads to the most important point of all. The highest form of wealth is the ability to control your time. It's the ability to wake up every morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. Money's greatest intrinsic value isn't buying fancy things, it's buying freedom. The freedom to choose your work, to spend time with your loved ones, to retire when you want, not when you have to. Having a buffer of savings, what Housel calls room for error or tail-end protection, is what gives you this control. It's not just for emergencies. It's for opportunities. It's for living life on your own terms. Before reading this book, I was obsessed with finding the highest returns. I'd check my portfolio constantly, stressing over every little dip. Now, my goal isn't to get the absolute highest returns. My goal is to be financially unbreakable, so that I can stick around long enough for compounding to work its wonders. This means having a good savings rate, diversifying, and most importantly, being patient. I've learned that wealth isn't a sprint, it's a marathon, and your mindset is far more important than any complex financial strategy. So to wrap it all up, the psychology of money teaches us that finance is not just a math-based field, it's a soft skill where how you behave is more important than what you know. Be reasonable, not just rational. Understand the difference between rich and wealthy. Acknowledge luck and risk. Define your enough. And always remember that the ultimate goal of money is to give you control over your time. This book is less of a how-to guide and more of a how-to-think guide. It won't give you stock picks, but it will give you a timeless framework for making better financial decisions for the rest of your life. If you want to change your relationship with money, I can't recommend it enough. What's your biggest money lesson? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories and insights. Thanks so much for watching. And if you found this valuable, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into life-changing books. See you next time.